I taught at a beautiful university along the coast of the Adriatic Sea, and it was beautiful and it was interesting. I remember one day I was in the middle of teaching class, and in the middle of it, some students stood up and started staring outside the window. And I said, "Okay, come on guys, sit down, what are you looking at?" And one girl looked at me and said, "Dolphins!" And sure enough, when I looked out the window, I saw a school of dolphins swimming past. Now my students would often pester me about like having class outside on the beach. And I told them no, absolutely not. But they wore me down eventually. And at some point I said, "Okay, I will do it just this once, but never again." So as we were walking towards the beach, one of my students, Rudyards, said to me, "Mr. Robert, I am disappointed that you're taking us to the beach. I personally do not like the beach. Yes, it is beautiful, but it also has a lot of sand and it makes me sweaty. And also, I do not like I don't know the precise word for it in English. Do you know the word zhapikë?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Zhapikës, I don't like them." So we had about 10 to 15 minutes of class on the beach, and it was semi-normal. We were discussing an article, and then suddenly one girl screamed, "Zhapikë!" And another girl goes, they're all screaming "Zhapikës" and waving their hands and pointing. And I looked at where they're pointing, and I saw a green lizard about 2 to 3 inches. And I said, "Is that a zhapikë?" But before they could answer, I saw that everyone had scurried back to the university, coincidentally back in time for the end of class bell to ring. So Albania was a beautiful place and still is. But in the 90s, it had a lot of problems. Here's what I understand the trash problem to be. They didn't really have any system. A man would be walking by eating banana and would throw the banana peel in a random place. Another man would come, have a can of soda, be drinking it, and had finished, and would see the banana peel and throw the can on the banana peel. Then a small boy would come with a half-eaten sandwich, didn't know where to throw it, but saw the banana and saw the can of soda and threw it there. Eventually, multiple people would throw things at this pile until it became larger. And then we had all sorts of random leftovers: watermelon, birthday cake, rice, tomatoes. Eventually, it would attract a crowd of animals at any given moment. You had cats, dogs, sometimes even a cow. At some point, the trash heap became so unsightly that a person would light a match and toss it at the trash heap, causing it to burn into ashes. At that point, the whole cycle would begin at another point when somebody threw something else away. Here was the problem. I lived on the 5th floor apartment, and I did not have anything resembling a trash can or a trash bag, which, if you think about it, makes a kind of sense, because even if I filled my trash bag full, where would I bring it to? Luckily, as a resourceful Peace Corps volunteer, I had a solution. I had a water purifier, and I had the box, still had the box where it came from, which resembled a kind of trash can. So I put it by my door, and I used it for my trash. When it was full, I would carry it and transport it to wherever the trash heap happened to be. Now, there was another problem. The problem was time. And I was working as a Peace Corps volunteer. You work a lot of hours. And when I came home, we only had running water for about an hour a day. And so I had to shower, wash, cook, wash dishes. In addition, I had schoolwork to grade, and things to write, and all this. I had papers everywhere. It was a mess. But fortunately, I had a solution. Boxes. Boxes, you see, are the solution to many common everyday problems. So instead of having papers everywhere, I had a box full of student papers. I had a box full of reimbursement forms for Peace Corps. I had a box full of correspondence from my parents. So instead of having paper everywhere, I had boxes, but well, they were organized. One day, I was coming home from a late night from school, and I noticed that my 5th floor balcony door was open. That seemed strange. When I walked up, I noticed that my front door was open. As I opened it, I saw my nosy neighbor, who was sister of my landlord, and she looked at me with a scowl and she said, "Robert, your place is a mess. You need to clean up your place." She said, "I couldn't stand it. I had to clean it up for you. You should be ashamed of yourself." Now I looked around my apartment and I saw that my dishes were washed, my floor was swept clean, and even my bed was made. But then I noticed something. My trash can box, where was it? "Do you know where it is?" I said. She said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "The box I had right by the door." And she said, "Oh, I threw that away. You had trash in there." And I said, "Yes, that's what I used it for." And then I looked around and noticed there were no boxes anymore in my apartment. And I said, "Where are my boxes?" And she said, "I threw them out. They had papers in them. They're trash." And I said, "No. These are very important papers. I need to keep them." I said, "Where did you throw them out?" And she said, "Well, I threw them in the trash heap." I said, "Well, let's go." So we walked down. I dragged her down. And I said, "No, which trash heap did you leave your papers for?" And she said, "Don't be mad, Robert. Don't be mad. They're just boxes." And I said, "I'm very mad." And I said, "Is it this trash heap over here?" And she said, No, I don't go to that one anymore. I go to the trash heap on the other side of the building. Other side of the building, I walked around. I saw a trash heap that was 3 times as big as any trash heap I'd ever seen before. It was covered by, it was kind of blocked by bricks and stones. And I could see that there's all kinds of random food there. I could see that there were dogs, chickens, cows, and at that point there was a goat. And they were just chomping merrily away as though this were some fancy all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. And there, I saw it. I saw my trash can box. And there, I saw my student papers and my reimbursement forms. And then I saw, heavens, my prize lecture notes on the psychoanalytic interpretations of Kafka's early fiction, which now a feral cat was clawing its way at. "Why did you do this?" I say. And the woman said, "Don't be mad." And I said, "I'm very mad. I'm very mad. I'm very mad." Just then, I noticed that the old woman, her eyes were filled with terror. And the animals, who up until now had been patiently enduring my outburst, so to speak, were quietly walking away. And then I noticed that on all sides of me, it was open space, and there were about 10 high-rises, all six stories tall. And in every high-rise, on the balcony, on the windows, on the stairwells, heads were popping up everywhere, staring at me, looking at me with total amazement. A month later, I was at some educational event. We invited teachers from the area, and there was a woman who was looking at me strangely. That's not unusual if you're a Peace Corps volunteer. You know, you stand out a little bit. And then 10 minutes later, she tapped me on the shoulder and she said happily, "I know you. You were that man who was yelling at the garbage." Every Peace Corps volunteer is proud of the legacy he or she leaves. For some, it's that they started an innovative agroforestry program or built a well. Some can say proudly that they helped to inspire a group of future leaders. For me, I have a feeling that I will probably be known forever as a man who will stop at nothing, not soggy milk cartons or rotten cucumbers, to rescue his precious boxes.